Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond 50 Skin. My name is Cindy. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to do a self-care Sunday where I share with you an extended skincare routine and some new products that I'm using. I'm also going to take you through some decluttering. I've got a bunch of foundations that aren't working for me. They're either not the right skin tone or not the right skin undertone. And I'm going to explain to you how you find out your skin tone and undertone. So if you're interested in dermaplaning, decluttering, and finding out your undertone, stay tuned, we're going to jump right into it. So, first off, I did a dermaplaning routine earlier this morning. I'm going to share that with you. So, what the first step in a dermaplaning routine? I have an extended video on dermaplaning. If you've never done it and you're interested in it, check out my video. I'm going to link it above. But the first thing you need to do is to degrease your skin with usually an AHA cleanser. An alpha hydroxy cleanser is a good way to start. You can either use a glycolic, or in this case, I use the CeraVe salicylic acid SA cleanser. It's a great degreasing cleanser without being too harsh and too stripping. So that's what I used. I double cleansed with that. And then the next step you need to do for dermaplaning is degrease your skin. Now, some people use witch hazel, some people use alcohol, some people prefer not to do either, just do a double cleanse, let your skin dry down really well. The reason you want to degrease your skin is so you don't have catch when you're doing your dermaplaning routine. You don't want to catch and accidentally nick yourself. So this morning I had witch hazel in hand, so that's what I used. The alcohol that I had was too high strength. It was good for cleaning my tool, but not good for putting on my face. So I used some witch hazel this morning for degreasing. And the next step you can do, it's sort of optional, is you can use an enzyme mask at this point to kind of really slough off those loose dead skin cells before you start your dermaplaning. You can use that after you wash and before you do your degreasing. I didn't do that this morning. I chose to do my enzyme mask after my dermaplaning. Either way is fine, and you can skip it altogether. It's kind of an optional step. So I went through my dermaplaning routine, and I like the stacked razor. I like this razor because it still has a guard on it, but it also does a really great job at exfoliating. It's not the cheaper one on the market, but in my dermaplaning video, I go through several uh, dermaplaning tools that I've tried and not liked because they end up just scratching the surface of the skin and not really doing a great job getting sort of that dead skin layer off and all the vellus hair. So I really like the stack. It's a little bit pricey, but it's worth the money, I think. To do It does a really great job. And so that's what I used this morning. You hold the skin really taut and you just go in feather-like strokes. I like to start at the brow, work my way around down to the cheeks. I don't have too much fur here, but then down through the mid cheek, pulling the skin up kind of as you come under the chin so that you can get the skin underneath your chin. You just raise it up and come underneath. So I finished my dermaplaning routine. After I did my dermaplaning, I decided to come with my enzyme mask at that point. This week I decided to use the pumpkin enzyme mask. This has kaolin clay, especially if you have a little bit toward normal to oily skin, you're going to really appreciate that. I have dry skin and I have no problem with this mask. It's the enzymes in here are fruit enzymes, and they just gently exfoliate the dead skin cells that I've kind of sloughed up from the dermaplaning and give me a really nice smooth surface. So that sits for about 10 minutes. So I ran up and jumped on the bike and I did some arm exercises to get rid of working on my bat wings. So I just went upstairs for 10 minutes while that mask sat, kind of dual tasking this morning, getting my exercise in and my skincare in. So anyway, so I let that sit for 10 minutes and then I came and I rinsed with tepid water. You don't want it to be too warm. And just tepid water and a nice microfiber towel just to get that mask off. And then you want to pack in the moisture at this point. You need to layer the moisture so that you can get your skin just super, super hydrated after you dermaplane. Your skin is just ready and prepped for all the great skincare that you're going to put on it. I decided to use the Klairs Fundamental Ampule Mist. This morning it's a wonderfully hydrating mist. The base of it is aloe. It's fantastic. It's deeply hydrating, not greasy, and cruelty-free, vegan. It's amazing. I love this mist. I showed it to you guys, I think last week in my mists video. And I layer that with the Cicaplast B5 balm. This is a very heavy, thick balm, but I layered this in twice and you can see that eventually it soaked right into my skin. It doesn't look like it when you first do it because obviously oil and a somewhat water-based solution kind of doesn't sit well. But once you let it sit in, my skin just drank up both layers of that really quickly. I also decided to come in with my Dew eye masks. I love these masks, and I tried a new eye cream, the Dr. Dennis Gross SOS eye cream. This is a crazy eye cream. It has every ingredient that you can think. They threw the kitchen sink into this for eyes. It starts, of course, with the traditional emollients and humectants, but niacinamide for brightening. Then they threw in licorice root, peptides, coffee extracts, cucumber extracts. I mean, the list is as long as my arm. Anyway, this is packed with every conceivable eye boosting ingredient that you can think of is in here, and it has adaptogens as well. So it's supposed to visibly reduce the signs of stress, including dark circles and worry lines. I think kind of over promises, but it was very nice and hydrating. And with the Dew eye masks, you can just use a regular moisturizer under your Dew eye mask. They're reusable. You just rinse them, let them dry, and they're ready for you the next time you want to use them. I love them. And it does give your eyes just a nice under eye hydration and a little bit of a boost. And I actually did really like this. I'll show you. The consistency is, it doesn't just smells like skincare, but the consistency is nice and creamy. It's kind of a pretty creamy formula. You don't want anything too occlusive under the eyes. I tend to get milia under the eyes. So you want something either light and creamy or gel-like under the eyes, not too occlusive, especially if you tend to get milia like I do. So I finished up with my eye masks and then did my sunscreen, of course, my SPF 45 Peter Thomas Roth. Love that sunscreen. You want to do a mineral sunscreen after you do a dermaplaning routine. You don't want to come in with chemical sunscreens because they can really burn after you've had that much exfoliation. So I let my moisturizers soak in, then I did my SPF, and then just because I didn't want to quite look like a headlamp, I threw on some ambient light powder because I was pretty shiny after all that moisturizer and my sunscreen on top of that. So I did the ambient light powder. It's a beautiful powder. I love it. Really finely milled, beautiful powder. And so I just put that on afterwards so that I wouldn't shine too much, like I said, like a headlamp. So, and then, and I had my Clinique Surprise lipstick on. I'm wearing that right now. I love this color. Such a pretty color. And of course, my They're Real mascara. Actually, this is actually the primer. It's kind of a no makeup look. They're tinted primer. It's a brown tinted primer. I really like that. It gives a real natural lash look. So that wraps up my morning skincare routine. It was actually very relaxing. I did have to do a little bit of rushing around because I had to get some errands done today, but it was really relaxing. I made sure I made time for it. I always like to do that on Sundays, just do a little something extra. And then I was like, okay, on to decluttering. I have about 8 foundations that, and most of them didn't actually work out for me. So before I started looking for like the perfect foundation, what's really good to do is to figure out your undertone. The undertone is different than your skin tone. Your tone will change with the seasons depending on how much sun you're getting, and it can kind of change in color ever so slightly from winter to summer. But your undertone is something that is consistent, and it's easy to find using 3 steps. I'll link a video down below that kind of goes into more detail, but this morning I decided to do a short video for you showing how I figured out what my undertone was. And the first step is I looked at my veins. You got to get in front of a window that has just natural light. It can't be too sunny, it can't be blaring sun through the window, but just a natural diffused light. You don't want to be under any kind of lamp. So just sit yourself in front of a window. If you have a white top on, that seems to help. And then you just take a peek at your veins, and if you have sort of your veins lean and your wrists lean toward green, then you probably are more on the warm side. And if they lean toward blue, then you're on the cool side. As you can see, I have both. So I'm kind of a neutral undertone. The second test is taking a piece of paper and putting it up to your neck and chest and seeing if your skin glows a little bit toward the red side or a little bit toward the yellow side. Mine does a little bit of both, as you can see in this video. And so again, I'm a neutral. I can't really figure out one way or the other. And the last test is to take 2 pieces of jewelry, a silver and a gold piece of jewelry, put them under your neck, and to see which one makes your skin more radiant or luminous. And actually, I can't tell the difference. So, and I always have kind of worn silver and gold jewelry just naturally. I don't know. So if you have any tips and tricks on finding an undertone that weren't included in this. I've linked 2 videos below. They both are sort of similar in the 3 techniques you can use to find your undertone. And like I said, for me personally, I think I'm a neutral. I can't really tell. So on to my decluttering of my foundations. So I have 8 foundations here. A lot of them aren't working. I did some swatching and I'll show you here on the video. I swatched them all out and I'm going to go through each one and explain why they didn't work and what I'm going to do with them. So the first 2 that I have are from Westman Atelier. I went through a virtual online color match on a Zoom call and they still didn't work out. So I was pretty disappointed. It was a birthday gift. And, but I'm really bummed that these didn't have a better match for my skin tone. The first one, they recommended number 2 and number 3. They're squalane based and they tend to kind of sit on the skin and sort of blend, instead of blend into the skin. So another reason why I wasn't too excited about these. But the number 2, as you can see, the first one is just too dark. The neutral tone, and they look like this. They're kind of a nice, the packaging is just lovely. And they have those nice magnetic caps. I really like that. But the first one, as you can see, is too dark. And the number 2 is too dark. And then the number 3 is just too warm. It's sort of an orangey color. So the first one, the undertone is about right, but the skin tone is too dark. And the other one is just way too warm. So the undertone is completely off. The next one you can see on my arm is kind of white, and then as you blend it in, it goes to pink. So this is the Eborian CC cream. It comes out, I'll show you, it comes out white. It's got the color flex concept. It comes out white, and then as you blend it in, it blends to your skin tone. And this one is a little bit on the pink side, but not too bad. The undertone is about right. It's neutral to maybe a little bit warm, but I'm going to be keeping this one. It's not too far off, but the next one is even a better match. It's the Eborian, again, their BB cream. And this one, the only downside is it's definitely, the undertone is just right for me. It's a neutral, and the skin tone is just slightly too dark, but I'm going to keep it because I'm going to probably mix it with some moisturizer. I think that'll work really well because it's a really high coverage. The coverage it's like a full coverage, and I like more of a light to translucent coverage. So I will be keeping both of these products. The Eborian company is new to me this year. I've never tried any of their CC creams or BB creams, and I'm really impressed so far. So I'll be keeping these 2 and kind of tweaking them. The next one is the Your Skin But Better by IT, their CC cream, 50 SPF. Now this one obviously is way too dark for my skin tone. It is neutral, but it's way, way too dark. It's just the wrong tone. And maybe a little bit on the warmer side for the undertone. So this one I'm definitely going to be getting rid of. Actually, the 2 Ateliers and this I'm going to pass on to a friend that's going to be visiting this week. And I think she's going to like all of these because she tends to be a little bit warmer than I am. And she also tends to be a little bit darker down the Fitzpatrick scale than I am. Okay, the next one was the Physician's Formula. And this one is, the color is called Fair to Light. And this was too light, but it did have a neutral undertone, but it was just too light for my skin tone. So I'm not going to be keeping this one. And I actually can't really think of anyone to give this to. And then the next one is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. Now, the hydration on this is fantastic. It's got a squalane and a hyaluronic acid base, and it really is very skin-like when it goes on the skin. It is a tinted hydrator. It's not really meant to be a foundation, but that's kind of what I was going for this summer. But it's too pink and too light, and definitely the undertone is way too warm for me. Again, my friend might like this, but it might be too on the pink side for her. Maybe not quite. Like I said, on her Fitzpatrick 3, almost 4 skin type it would be a little bit too light for her. And the last but not least, heading into the high end. So I have from drugstore to mid-range to high end makeup all here. You know, it really doesn't seem to matter. I think if you spend a lot or a little on your foundation, if you find the right match, you find the right match. My favorite was the Lancome, I think it's called Photogenics. Anyway, I can't remember the name of it, but it was perfect. It had the perfect luminosity, the perfect hydration, the perfect tone, the perfect undertone, and of course they stopped making it. It seems like with foundations, that's what they tend to do. They make the perfect one that you find and then they discontinue it. It's so frustrating. But last but not least was the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk, and this is the 4.75. I was color matched in the store, and this is off just a little bit. It's just slightly too warm for me. And they used like a plexiglass to kind of color match it. They put it on a plexiglass, and I think we were in really bright sunlight by the window, and I think the sunlight was too bright and didn't give the right. It just didn't give the right color. It looked okay. This is close, but it's not quite right. And also, this gives kind of a matte. It's a little bit too mattifying on my skin and on my dry skin, and it also um, I just feel like I need to wear a lot of moisture under this when I wear it. And like I said, in person or when I did the color match in the store, it looked okay, but it's just a bit too peachy, a little bit too warm. It matched the undertone, but not really my skin tone. It's a little bit too on the peach side. So I'm going to keep it. So the ones I'll be keeping are the two Iborians, and the Armanis, and then maybe the Physician's Formula. I can figure out how to maybe mix this with the Armani and get a good match, get a little bit more hydration, and maybe lighten it up just a tad. So that's kind of wraps up my decluttering of my foundations. I really needed to go through them and pass the ones on that I'm not going to be using, or just kind of get rid of it and clean out. I hate to waste, but like I said, I kind of try to do some drugstore and some high end, and just try to find my perfect match. I know I'm not the only one struggling to find their perfect foundation out there. So I hope you enjoyed today's video on dermaplaning, decluttering, and finding your undertone. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. And if you have any suggestions on like the perfect foundation, if you have similar skin tone to me, leave that down below. I am in search of the perfect foundation, or CC cream or BB cream. I'm not fussy, it doesn't matter, but just kind of a light sort of natural coverage is what I'm after. So like I said, thanks for joining me today for Self-Care Sunday. Leave your comments down below. Take care, everybody.